Hello guys, DJ Bagpuss here and welcome to a little bit of a different video for you today. And this is not really an analysing Arsenal video, but it is kind of talking about football, so it's kind of like a spin-off to analysing Arsenal. But in the same time, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. And that is because this weekend marks the FA Cup third round. The FA Cup third round gets underway this weekend. And it's a pivotal moment for the FA Cup because the third round is when Premier League teams and kind of the big Premier League teams, so Liverpool, United, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, all of them, kind of kickstart their FA Cup campaign. And my team, Arsenal, will be, starting their FA Cup defence, defending their FA Cup title on Sunday away to Nottingham Forest. So I thought today would be the perfect opportunity to kind of give you my FA Cup 2018 preview. But we're not just going to be previewing, giving my prediction for who I think is going to win the FA Cup, looking at the games that are coming up this weekend, which we are going to do in this video. But I want to talk really about the state of the FA Cup and the decline of the competition, and kind of talk about its current state and why the FA Cup has kind of fallen away and is kind of disrespected in terms of all the English trophies that you can win, how it has gone from being such a big mainstream competition that, it's a real honour to win that competition if you get all the way, and, there's a lot of great magical memories that you can have when you're in the FA Cup. And I'm also going to tell you about why that has kind of fallen away and so many people now don't really take too much notice of the FA Cup, which is something that I don't necessarily agree with. And as I'm a young fan, giving it from a young perspective, I can kind of share my thoughts and feelings on the FA Cup, because the FA Cup means quite a lot to me. I'm not just saying it because I'm an Arsenal fan and it's the only competition we are actually good in. It's always been a big trophy for me, and I want to say first and foremost that as an Arsenal fan, the FA Cup, it's great to win it, and it's really an honour to win the FA Cup, but it's not the one that we desperately want. We want the Premier League, we want obviously we're not in the Champions League this season, we want the Europa League, but if we win the FA Cup, it's great. And even though it's not the be all and end all of winning trophies, it's still a fantastic competition to win, and it's still a fantastic competition to participate in. So I kind of really want to start by talking about the decline of the FA Cup before I get on to my FA Cup memories, and then giving you guys my predictions to not only this weekend's games, but who I think is actually going to win the FA Cup this year. Who is going to take Arsenal's crown, or do I think Arsenal are going to retain their FA Cup trophy? So, as a young fan, the FA Cup has been one of those competitions that over the last couple of years has been disrespected. It is so disrespected by so many people. People just, they don't just not really care about the FA Cup, but they're not even interested in how their team are doing in the FA Cup. And I'm only talking about a minority of people. This isn't, kind of me just generalising everybody, but there is a lot of negativity and a lot of hate that is given to the FA Cup nowadays. And I think if you asked 100 people, if you got 100 people in a pub and said, do you care about the FA Cup? I think you'd be quite shocked at how many people actually don't really give a toss about the FA Cup whatsoever. And I don't really know why we've had this sort of decline. Back in the day, and I've had to do research on this, and speaking to my dad, who's a massive Chelsea fan. Back in the day, the FA Cup was a huge, not just competition to, as I said, participate in, but the FA Cup final was an absolutely just one of the biggest sporting days in the calendar. If you were watching it on telly, you'd get up at 9 o'clock and you would follow the team from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. You'd be watching them arrive to the stadium, you'd see them on their buses, you'll see them in the changing rooms, you'll see all of this preparation and build up, and then you'd have the game, and then you would watch, if your team won or lost, the aftermath and kind of the what everyone is thinking about it, their thoughts and feelings to, even if they won or lost the FA Cup, you'll see the aftermath of the game after. And it was a whole day, it would start at 9 o'clock in the morning, it would finish at 7 o'clock at night. And over the last couple of years, we're starting to move back to that. If you watch on BBC, the Arsenal-Chelsea FA Cup final last year in July, I think it was July, the Arsenal-Chelsea faced, it might have been June actually, or no, actually no, it wasn't, it was May. It was May that we played Chelsea in the FA Cup final. And, it it was a whole day on BBC One. You know, it started at 9 in the morning. We had the game at 5:30, and then we watched the after party scenes. You know, as for us, Arsenal winning the FA Cup was great. Chelsea not winning it, you know, it was like just a whole day. We spent the whole day. Me and my dad and I vlogged, as you saw. I vlogged my FA Cup kind of final day, watching it, building up to the game, and giving you my thoughts as to what had happened really. And it was a great day. So we are moving gradually back to that, but there's still this kind of mentality that the FA Cup is just not respected, nor is it appreciated as it once was. Now that may be due to a number of things. You know, we're now in a modern era, we're in a state of the modern climax of football where, you know, there's so much money in the game, there's so many fixtures to contend with. The big teams have got something like, you know, they've got Premier League games, you know, Carabao Cup games, Champions League, Europa League games. You know, there's so many games that they've got to fabricate and kind of, you know, try and comprehend in, you know, making sure that they try and win as many games as possible, that they don't really put all their eggs into the FA Cup as to, you know, potentially what they should do. And if you're up against like a smaller team, you know, we're up against Nottingham Forest on Sunday, I expect Arsene Wenger to play a relatively weakened side to the side that we saw against Chelsea on Wednesday. But if you've got tonight, you've got the Merseyside derby between Liverpool and Everton. So, you know, I expect both teams to put out their strongest lineup. So I can understand like managers, you know, tossing and changing their teams depending on their opposition. But what I don't understand is like when you've seen in the past in FA Cup big games, like when, you know, Manchester United and Chelsea face against each other, when, you know, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal City, whoever it is, you know, still, you know, those teams play weakened sides, and it makes no sense whatsoever because it's a big FA Cup tie. You could potentially be knocking out one of your main rivals who are potentially going to win the competition, and it doesn't really make any sense to me how you could not play your strongest lineup in a game of that magnitude, incidentally. And also I think the Premier League is a big part to play why the FA Cup has declined over recent years, because the Premier League is, I mean, it's not just the most watched league in the world, but there is so much money to be won at, you know, in the Premier League, you know, and I think we have to understand that football nowadays is about an economic stature. You know, it's about making as much money as you possibly can, and teams take the Premier League so seriously because, you know, the money that they get for whatever position that they finish in is absolutely, you know, it's the pivotal of what that club wants to do. You know, we're in a financial equity of football where money talks, and, you know, instead money does do all the talking. So, you know, for clubs, you know, and managers, they know that, you know, making, you know, the funds required and, you know, keeping the head above water and keeping the equity levels high is the most, you know, important thing, incidentally. It's not at times for many clubs about, you know, winning trophies. It's about making money. We've seen it with Arsenal, you know, and either it's about making money, or like teams like Manchester United, City, Chelsea have got so much money that it doesn't really matter. You know, if they don't win the FA Cup, it's not the end of the world. They're not going to get judged of it whatsoever. You know, it was like when Jose Mourinho got knocked out of the Carabao Cup, you know, even though he probably was frustrated with it. No, not many Manchester United fans cared because it's the Carabao Cup. And I understand it with the Carabao Cup because that is such a short kind of trophy. You start it in September, you finish in February, you play a game kind of once a month, and it's only really when you get into the semi-finals and finals that, you know, it's a competition that it's great if you win it, but if you get knocked out, like even for me, if we get knocked out the Carabao Cup, it's not going to bother me. It's starting to bother me now because we're so close to the final. Like we play Chelsea in the semi-final, and then, you know, if we, you know, get past those two games, we're into the final. And, you know, I will be upset and annoyed if we get knocked out of the semi-final. But if we got knocked out against like West Ham or Norwich or even Doncaster for that matter, you know, do I really care about the Carabao Cup? No, it's only if you get to like, the latter stages that it starts to become important. But with the FA Cup, like if we get knocked out the third round, like hypothetically on Sunday, then that is going to hurt because, you know, I care much more about the FA Cup than I do the Carabao Cup. And, you know, for a team in Arsenal's position, you know, we're not going to win the Premier League. If we can win the Europa League and the FA Cup again, you know, that could and entails as a successful season, even though that what the levels at Arsenal should be and the expectation should be higher, it's something that isn't going to change. So if we can win the FA Cup, that will be great. But I think because of the amount of money that you see now in the modern era, that the FA Cup is just not really teams is first priority, and if it's not the team's first priority, then why on earth as fans are we going to prioritise the FA Cup if our team don't even really care about the FA Cup? You've got you have to kind of, it's a 50-50 partnership. If your team care about it, then as fans we've got to get behind them, but if they're not really fussed or interested, then why should we? And that goes with anything. If you see your team lose a game and you see that they don't really care about it, then you're not going to care about it yourself, because they're not showing any thought about it. Why should I? And that is a very kind of human thing to do, incidentally. But I don't know, I just think the FA Cup in the last couple of years is just not taken very, very seriously, just because of the fact that there's so many games, and sometimes there can be too much games in the way of schedules. You think of the Christmas and New Year kind of Christmas schedule, so many people were, and so many managers were getting agitated, frustrated, and showcasing and ranting and raving their thoughts and fears that there are just too many games. Some teams play every 2 days. And I understand that to a point, but again, you're footballers, you're getting paid lots of money, you should be able to cope with playing, lots of games in a quick succession. And, the holiday period is always the most kind of stressful, and you play the most games in the holiday season. It has been like that for ages. But the FA Cup, you play it kind of every month. It's kind of also like the Carabao Cup, where you get it every kind of 3 to 4 weeks you play a game. So, and you have a rest. You don't play Premier League during that week. So I don't really feel like there could be any excuse for not playing all of your strong boys. The only exception is it depends on the opposition that you are. But I don't really understand how we've moved away from the magic and fairy tale that was the FA Cup, and how it doesn't really have that same meaning, in a generalised sense. There are some people who absolutely love the FA Cup. If you saw the magic of the FA Cup last season, which was a kind of YouTube series that had fans watching the FA Cup and showcased their FA Cup journey. I vlogged the FA Cup. I gave my final preview and vlog to the game that we played against Chelsea at Wembley, and I have showcased quite a lot about the FA Cup on this channel. So there are exceptions, and there are people that still take it very, very seriously. But I just wish, as a whole football community that we are, I wish that we could unite and come together and make the FA Cup, the great that it once was back in kind of the 70s and 80s. And with the power of social media and the modern era that we have such a great chance to unite as a front and make the FA Cup bigger and better than ever before. And hopefully we can, instantly do that, because I've had some great memories, as a football fan, watching the FA Cup. The FA Cup was the first major trophy that I saw my team win. I've been an Arsenal fan 10 years. We haven't won a trophy kind of since 2005. I wasn't a football fan in 2005. When I became a football fan, I became an Arsenal fan in 2008. I waited 6 years before I actually saw Arsenal lift a trophy, and it was the FA Cup. And that game against Hull City will go down as one of the greatest games that I've ever seen. And I wish I was vlogging that one, because it was one of those games that it tugged at every single emotion that I had. We went 2-0 down after kind of 7 minutes, and I literally was feeling the worst. I was thinking, it was all over. That was it. We, weren't going to get a win. It was going to be a dark, dark day, particularly how excited and pumped I was all morning leading up to that. And that whole week was just, so exciting. It was the first, final that I'd ever seen Arsenal get to. Well, I saw them get to the Carabao Cup final in 2011 against Birmingham City, and we lost that. So I've already experienced what it was like to lose a final, and it is the worst pain imaginable. So this was a chance for us to get ourselves our first major trophy. And not just that, incidentally, there was a lot of impetus and pressure on Arsenal as a football club, because a 9-year wait to get a trophy was almost over. And had we lost that, looking back now, had we lost that final, Arsenal would have walked away that day. So maybe, winning it wasn't the greatest thing possible, but, it was a fantastic day. I remember the semi-final that we played against Wigan. We went to penalties, and the pressure that I was under, and watching it as a fan, and how I felt as each penalty was stepping up. We were 1-0 down in that game. We equalised, and there was just so much stress, frustration, and I was a bag of nerves watching that semi-final. But we got past Wigan, and then to get 3 goals back in the manner that we did despite being 2-0 down just was one of the greatest days I've ever had as a football fan. You know, when we beat Manchester City last year in the semi-final, that was a fantastic day, particularly as no one gave Arsenal hope there was chance. I did. I thought we were going to get battered by Manchester City, and in the end we managed to find a way to get that win. And then in the FA Cup final last year against Chelsea, again no one gave us a hope there was chance. Everyone wrote Arsenal off, and they stepped up the game and proved what they can do when they put the minds to it. We absolutely battered Chelsea from minute 1 to minute 90. So I've had a lot of great FA Cup memories, and I've been very, very proud and honoured to witness some amazing FA Cup moments along the years. And, you know, let me know down in the comment section below if you feel, and what do you think of the FA Cup? Do you regard it as an important trophy? You know, do you regard it as a competition that is valuable to you? And what are your FA Cup memories as well? I'll be really interested to see. I'm going to also put a vote out on my Twitter of, do you guys care about the FA Cup? I'm going to put it out just before I upload this video later on this afternoon. You know, because I'll be really interested to get some concrete data about what you guys think about the FA Cup. Because I think it's a magical competition, you know, a competition that produces moments of heartbreak, moments of intrigue, excitement, you know, suspense, and it is at its centrepiece, you know, on a good night. It's an extraordinary competition. And, you know, I just hope that we can get back to a state where we, you know, regard the FA Cup as a strong staple competition, because that's what it should be, and that's kind of what it deserves, incidentally. And, you know, the memories that I have kind of soaked up in the FA Cup as my time as a football fan have been some of the best memories ever, and I am excited to see what the future holds. And particularly, you know, Arsenal are the most successful team in FA Cup history. You know, I have a close, you know, bond, a relationship with the FA Cup. So I can't wait to see what the next chapter in Trout. I will also give my prediction to who I think is going to win the FA Cup, incidentally. And it's going to be a little bit of a controversial kind of, you know, prediction that I think is going to win the FA Cup. Because I don't actually think Arsenal are going to win it this year. I think we're going to put all of our, you know, eggs into the Europa League, because, you know, it's going to be so hard to try and get into the Champions League, you know, next season, that the Europa League, I think, is going to be our only avenue. So I will think we're going to put everything into that. And I've got a sneaky feeling that we're going to reach the final of the Carabao Cup. I don't know why I think that, but I've just got this feeling that we're going to do that. But what I think and who I think is going to be, you know, FA Cup, you know, champions at the end of the season is Liverpool. Now, they face a big battle. And if they lose tonight, then this prediction will go right out the window, and, you know, I will be, you know, wrong. Even before we start, I will be incorrect. But they face Everton at Anfield. But Liverpool have got a fantastic squad. They've got a squad of pace, power, position, and I've just got a feeling they're going to put a really good run together. Jurgen Klopp has got to win a trophy sooner rather than later at Liverpool, and I've just got this feeling that he is going to do it. For some reason, I don't know what it is, I've just got this feeling that Liverpool are going to go a long way. And if they don't win the FA Cup, I think they're going to be in the final this year. You know, previous years, you know, 2 years ago when or 3 years ago when we played Aston Villa in the FA Cup final, we thought it was going to be an Arsenal-Liverpool FA Cup final, where Liverpool got knocked out by Blackburn, or no, they got knocked out by Aston Villa in the semi-final. So they've been close in the last couple of years. I remember an FA Cup final they played against Chelsea, which they fell short with. That was about like 9 years ago, I think, incidentally. And, you know, they need to win a trophy, incidentally. You know, Jurgen Klopp could have won the Europa League, he failed. He could have won the Carabao Cup, he's failed. You know, they've got to win a trophy, and I've got a feeling that this is going to be the season where they put a really good FA Cup run together. They might get lucky and not really face any big teams, you know, much as what Arsenal did last season. We didn't face any really big teams until the semi-final, but I think Liverpool have got more than enough quality to beat any person and any team in this competition. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think they're going to win tonight. I think they're going to comfortably beat Everton. I think at times it's going to be a little bit of a tough game, a tricky game, but I think they're going to just about, you know, it's either they're going to edge it 1-0, or they're going to, you know, it's going to be a close game. They're going to get 1-0, and then in the second half, the floodgates are going to open, and they're going to just, you know, get 2 or 3 goals. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win, you know, comfortably in the end tonight. You know, honestly, I generally believe that. But I don't know. I just feel like Liverpool they need to win a trophy. They need to win something, and I've just got this feeling that they are going to go a long way. And I think they're going to put a good FA Cup run together. Manchester United have got Derby County, which they play tonight at 8 o'clock. I think Manchester United easily will win that. I will be absolutely shocked if they get knocked out. But again, that's the beauty of the FA Cup, that anything can happen. And on, you can't really predict like I'm doing now. Like, you can make observations on who you think is going to win, but in the FA Cup, it is everybody's cup final. Anything can happen whatsoever. We've seen so many shocks. Wigan beating Manchester City in the FA Cup final. When Bradford beat Chelsea by 4 goals to, when Manchester City got knocked out by Middlesbrough. When Manchester United got knocked out a couple of years ago, they got knocked out by a really good, well, not good, but like a championship side. I can't really remember who it was, but you can't predict. You don't know what is going to happen, and you don't know what twists and turns are going to wait the game. But I think Manchester United will get through quite comfortably. You've got Manchester City facing Burnley, so it's almost like a Premier League game. Again, I think Manchester City, they're so awesome at the minute. They are doing so well, and I think they're comfortably beat Burnley whatsoever. They will have to make a couple of changes because of the injuries that they've sustained, but I think it'll be no problem. They won't have any problems or issues trying to get past Burnley. Burnley will cause problems for them and create kind of maybe a potentially tough game for them, but I don't think necessarily it's going to be one of those games where Burnley walk away with a good result. I think Manchester City in the end will get the win and progress to the next round. The one game that I kind of think that is going to be a tough game is Norwich-Chelsea away from home. Now, Norwich are a good side and Chelsea are inconsistent, shall we say. And if there was going to be any kind of upset and shock on the cards, it's that game. I've just got a sneaky feeling that Norwich are going to be a right pain. I mean, I think Chelsea have enough quality to get past that game, but I've just got this feeling that Norwich are just going to produce something. I don't know what it is, but like my gut just tells me that it's not going to be an easy game, particularly away from home. It's late tomorrow, 5:30. It's not going to be an easy game for Chelsea whatsoever. So I think that Norwich will cause them a problem. Whether they take them to replay, and incidentally, if they do take Chelsea to a replay tomorrow, then I kind of feel like Chelsea at Stamford Bridge will get past Norwich quite easily. But I've just got a feeling that is not going to be an easy game whatsoever. Spurs have got Wimbledon at home at Wembley. That's at Wembley, isn't it? So, Tottenham on home soil. I think that's going to be a interesting game. But I've just got this feeling that they are going to get the win. I think, Wimbledon, will try as much as they can to cause them problems. But I don't think they are. Instead, I don't think they're really going to, cause Spurs too much hassle to contend with, particularly at Wembley. It's not going to be an easy game for them whatsoever. And the current holders of the FA Cup, my team Arsenal up against Nottingham Forest. I expect Arsene Wenger to rest lots of players, and I expect certainly like an Europa League side, the side that Arsene Wenger put out of the Europa League. It's not going to be an easy game whatsoever, but I do expect us to, in the end, get a result. I'll be absolutely shocked, and I'll be very, very upset and unhappy if we can't managed to get the win. But I just got this feeling that we are going to do it. We are actually very good in the FA Cup. We've won it in the last 3 years out of 4. We know what it means to win the competition. We know how to perform in that competition. If it's the only competition that Arsenal are actually any good in, then we definitely know what it means to win this competition. So we shouldn't have any problems on Sunday. I do expect, and I will understand totally, because we've got Chelsea on Wednesday once again in the Carabao Cup, and then we've got a very, very tough Premier League game ahead of us. So, I expect a shuffled side. I expect some of the big boys still to be in the side, but also I think Arsenal is going to give, the youngsters a chance to, make another statement. And I love how Arsenal is giving these youngsters like Maitland-Niles, who was absolutely awesome against Chelsea on Wednesday, And I've just got this feeling, that he wants to showcase these youngsters and give them as many opportunities as they can, and to start their journey in the FA Cup. What a way to kind of kick-start the FA Cup journey, by giving youngsters a chance to spread their wings and produce something on stage. But obviously, with that, you're going to have experience in the ranks of players that can win you a game on their own. Maybe Alexis Sanchez will start tomorrow or on Sunday. Maybe Mesut Ozil will start, but the likes of Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson, I'm pretty sure they will start. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a good year for the FA Cup. I'm really, really excited to see what happens. The magic of the FA Cup, anything can happen, anything does happen. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens and what the 2018 FA Cup entails. Who is going to be in the final at Wembley? Are we going to see Arsenal look to make their 4th FA Cup in 5 years? Or are we going to see a shock on the cards? Who knows, but I'm going to leave this video here for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I really hope you enjoyed it. It was just nice to talk about the FA Cup in kind of a generalised way and give my own kind of, unique preview to the FA Cup 2018. Liverpool-Everton kickstarts the FA Cup third round tonight. Arsenal play on Sunday. You can see Chelsea on Saturday. Lots of FA Cup content that you can see on telly this weekend. And if you're going up to the grounds yourself, I wish you a very happy and safe journey up there and hope you enjoy what you're about to see. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Check out my other content as well. And this is Bagpuss signing out. And until next time, take care and I shall see you all soon. Take care and see you all later. I will rejoin you on Sunday to give you my first analyse and Arsenal of the FA Cup 2018 as we play Nottingham Forest away from home. Come on, you guys. Take care and I'll see you all soon.